Happy Halloween! I'm out here as a Kevin Harvick fan. Ooh, he doesn't drive anymore. Anyway, welcome back to Movie Health Community, the internet's #1 source of health warnings at the movies. Robert Zemeckis has brought us so many classic movies, including one of my favorites of all time, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. This is the man who gave us Back to the Future, Forrest Gump, Castaway. And what I've always appreciated about Robert Zemeckis is how creative he is and how ready he always is to try the newest technology and be the experimental filmmaker using this new technology that comes along. Sometimes he finds a great way to make it work, like with Back to the Future or Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Sometimes it's a valiant attempt but falls a little flat, like the Polar Express. And sometimes you have the Pinocchio remake. All this to say, Robert Zemeckis has earned the place where if he has a movie, you watch it, whether you think it's going to be good or not. Some directors have earned that place, and Robert Zemeckis is definitely one of them. So let's talk about Here. First off, let's talk about if Here is safe for photosensitive audiences. The answer is kind of. This movie has a few scenes with some camera flashes and a few scenes with some lightning. The lightning is always contained to individual scenes, so once a scene is over, the next one is not going to have lightning, but sometimes it's used as a transitional element, so on at least one occasion, it does happen very suddenly and unexpectedly. And then in one brief scene, there are fireworks. And these fireworks do not create harsh strobes, they're just very bright sparks in motion. So for flashing lights, we are going to give Here a 5 out of 10. In terms of motion, this is probably the least motion-intensive movie we've ever evaluated on Movie Health Community. There is literally nothing to say on the motion front. And then in terms of mental health, there are multiple interwoven stories that involve grief. That's about all I've got to say about Here in terms of mental health and physical health warnings. Now let's get to the reason you turned on a YouTube video about it. Is this movie any good? The answer is yes. This is an absolute return to form after whatever the hell that Pinocchio remake was in 2022. I'm going to tell you right off the bat, this movie has some of the best de-aging I've ever seen in a movie. Probably even better than Michael Douglas at the beginning of Ant-Man, which to date, 9 years after that movie's release, is still the best de-aging I've ever seen. The de-aging in Here is probably better than that. It's miles better than Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. One of my big worries is that it's going to turn out like some of his more recent movies, like The Walk and Welcome to Marwen, that they're going to be good movies, but people are not going to be talking about them. This is a movie that should be talked about. This is a movie that, even though it's trying something that very few movies have ever tried before, is so successful in what it's trying to do. And at the same time, a lot of what makes this movie so good feels very old-fashioned. Now, if you're not familiar with this, it only got one trailer. Definitely watch that one trailer. It only needs one trailer, because that sells you exactly the movie that you're getting into and demonstrates the gimmick that the camera never moves. We didn't need another trailer to demonstrate any of that. This movie did what exactly every movie set in a different time period needs to do, and it demonstrated exactly why we need to do it. And that is the problems that people face, no matter what they were facing, they were always relatable problems. They were never culturally specific problems. Like, there are time capsules of different periods of time in this movie with a lot of love for the 60s and 70s, as well as World War II America and post-war America. A lot of love for what the vibe of the United States was like during that time. Something that Robert Zemeckis, of course, has been historically really good at, especially with Forrest Gump. The story feels so human and it feels so real. And it doesn't feel like a predictable story. Like, if you think you know what you're getting into and you think you know it from beginning to end just by watching the trailer, you probably don't. I'm just so impressed with how much story was able to be told in this movie. And I saw this with my girlfriend, and even though we're still pretty newly dating, we both agreed that it was definitely the best date movie that we've been on, by a lot. So this is definitely a good movie to take a date out to. And this movie did get both of us kind of choked up a little bit. One of my favorite old-fashioned things about this movie is the fact that it had an overture. How many movies nowadays have an overture? And it was an Alan Silvestri overture, so of course it was just beautiful to listen. If you like the vibe of a Robert Zemeckis movie, this movie brings it more than most of his recent movies have. And that was so refreshing to see. If I had any complaints to ascribe to this movie, I would say that maybe it gets a little bit slow sometimes, but this is a movie that does not need to be fast-paced. This is a movie that you can just kind of exist in and just experience and watch it and experience it as it unfolds. I don't know how much sense that makes, but I'm sticking to it. I'm going to give here an A. Thank you so much to our readers on Tumblr and Facebook, and as always, an extra special thanks to our patrons on our Patreon page whose names are scrolling on the screen like credits right now. As a reminder, nothing produced by Movie Health Community is medical advice, nor has any of it ever been reviewed by any medical professionals. Be sure to leave a like on this video, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell icon if you want to be notified when we post new videos, and leave a comment if you have anything to add to this discourse, especially if you disagree with anything I've said. We love hearing from you. And as always, stay safe at the movies.